My name is Michael Courtney, and currently I'm a supervisor at Hornepayne Lumber. I moved to Hornepayne 5 years ago, just about 5 years ago, with my family. Since then, we've been welcomed with warm, loving arms. During that time, I've made a change in career. I started with the railway, like I mentioned, at the lumber mill now. I've gone through a change in family dynamics, all of which is working out very good for me and my family. As to why I'm running for mayor, that is why, because of the welcome that I've received in this community, the feeling I have when I come back to this place is home. I come from New Brunswick. I'll go and visit, that's where I come from, but this is my home, and I care deeply about this community and the people in this community. That's a little bit about myself, my situation. A lot of people I know personally here, so you guys know where I'm coming from. It's hard to kind of convey exactly how you feel about a place in front of 100 or so people, and some of which you've never even met before. But that's why I'm running for mayor. I want to see this community prosper. I want to see it continue into the future. I want to see it grow. I want to see the people here have a place that we can all be proud of. Not that we're not already proud of it, but a place that we can have people look at us and say, that's what I want. That's how I want my community to be, like us. Right? Now, a little bit about my platform. My platform, I'd say, starts out with fostering business in this community. That be it small business, medium-sized businesses, large businesses, industry, you name it. We already do have very strong industry in this town. We have our railway, the lumber mill, and we have many very strong small businesses here that sometimes I think are struggling to stay afloat in the current environment. My plan to foster business in this community as mayor will be a three-step process. Will be to attract business, to support business, and then to retain business. And in that, the attract portion of that plan would be to attract commercial businesses, small, medium, large, industry, and people that come with those businesses, people that will work for these businesses, and ourselves that will attain gainful employment from them. The way to attract these businesses is through incentives. If I'm a person who wants to start a business, wants to move to Hornepayne, I want to establish myself, I would probably like to benefit from possibly a grace period of, I'd say 12 months, 18 months, to help get myself on my feet, to help get my clientele built, to help get into the community. As an industry, the same thing. We want to incentivize these companies to come here. We want them to be enticed to come to our community. Secondly, support. Support. Now I'm talking for existing businesses now, supporting them and the new ones that have arrived. Look at forms of tax relief for a business that's currently operating in Hornepayne, that is struggling to keep their doors open, struggling to find employees, struggling to keep the clientele coming in the door. Personally, I'm like a lot of you. I have to leave the community to do a lot of my shopping or do it online because it's simply not available here. I'd like to see the dollars that we work hard for be spent in this community, to support businesses that are here, to support our neighbors, our friends. Also housing is a problem as far as bringing people into this community. We need to ensure that we have the strategies to ensure people have places to live when they come here. Personally, I know a number of people here that are here with the railway that had a very difficult time even finding a room to rent, let alone an apartment or a house, and that's an ongoing problem. And then third part of that plan is to support, to retain. You want to retain the people that come here and retain the people that are here already. We want to do that through providing services, providing programs for children and teenagers, providing activities for children and adults alike to do places for us to meet, places for us to recreate, and establishments of many sorts and programs. Now, once people, like I say, once people are here, we want to keep them here. We want to keep them here. We want them to set down roots. We want children, once they've graduated high school, we want them to depart here, continue their education if that's their choice, and then come back here, set roots, raise families of their own, support this community. Now there's, I found the Facebook group that David created was very, very helpful. I think a lot of you did too. Gain some insight into the feelings of the people throughout the town. One thing that did come up that I found quite important was in terms of saving costs, okay? And the question was raised about travel, like people in council and mayor traveling outside of the community to attend meetings, seminars, training, you name it. And the number that popped up, I don't know how many people here read it, but the number that popped up shocked me, that we were traveling that much. And now I understand that we're in the middle of nowhere, theoretically, but, and that there's multiple council members, mayor, multiple people traveling for these trips, which I don't believe makes sense. I think in the situation, financial situation that we're in right now, it should be one person that travels. It's the council that decides who that person is best suited, which person is best suited to go to that particular event or seminar or meeting, and that person travels. And if there's possibility to combine travel with nearby communities, we could reach out to nearby communities that might be sending council members, mayors to the same event and investigate whether there's opportunities to carpool. Okay, that's my 30 seconds. Now what's on everybody else's mind is the NWMO. Am I for or against? I've been asked that many times. What I'm for is remaining in the process to learn more, rely on science and sound knowledge to make our decision. I'd also for graciously accepting funding until the decision is made. I'm against slamming the door on the opportunity based on fear and misinformation, and rejecting funds. I believe rejecting those funds is irresponsible and reckless.
Michael?
Yes.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, I am excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this night for a couple of weeks now, and I've been preparing and just want to share with you, Hornepayne, my vision for our community. I see a town that's bustling with activity, that's growing. People want to move here. The streets are filled with trees lining the streets, and there's benches for our seniors to take rests at. And there's growth, and it's not just about just coming here for a job for a little while, it's about people staying here for the long term. That's what I see. I don't think we're there yet, but Hornepayne, I'd like to launch us into the future to bring us there. I've created a strategy that's 5 points, and I think it hits the problems, but also gives solutions on how we can move forward. The first point of my platform is a housing taxes task force. We have a huge issue with our mill rate is way too high. I investigated looking at building a home for about $300,000, and if I was to build a home assessed at $300,000, I would pay over $13,000 in taxes. We are hindering people from settling here for the long term, and we have young people that are coming for CN jobs and for the mill jobs that can afford these types of homes. That is why I'd like to create that type of subcommittee with council, so we can really look at this problem, learn from MPAC, learn from lending organizations of what it takes to build a home, to build a building mortgage, and learn from community developers, the professionals, to tell us how we can move forward. My second point of my platform is manage our water. Right now, we have a water bill that we all just divide this fixed water bill between all the users. If we're gonna grow, if we're gonna add 20 or 30 homes to our community, are we gonna just increase that water usage? So I would like to look at getting an energy engineered rate survey and a growth plan developed to take care of this so that our water bills don't keep increasing. So we need to look at, if we add 20 people to the water, are we just going to increase that rate? Are we just going to pay more? If we were to implement water meters, we may be able to bring our consumption rate down, let's say 20% or 25%. Now we have measurables and we have numbers to negotiate to say, you know what, we're going to add 20 homes to our water system, but we're not going to take an increase in our water. We can use those extra numbers to invest in our water system. My third point of my platform is our kids. Our kids are really important. They always have been, but more so for this generation, for us, because we have a generation of children that have been raised with computer and internet. They have not known a world without that. And we're on the brink of a generation that's not known what it's like to live without a cellular phone. We have a position at council for a student councilor, which I'd love to see filled, but I think we need to do more than that. I think we need to partner with our schools and figure out what these young people are thinking, where they want to go, so we can create jobs so they can come home to. They have dreams, they have visions, and you know what? They're going to create the future. I would have never guessed the 3 things that my own children have gone and done, and I think we have great, great people and families here that could do amazing things. The 4th point of my strategy is the economic development officer. People know that I've been diligent in trying to get an economic development officer. It's part of our strategic plan. But I want to focus on that. When they're hired, we can get our official plan updated, but further that, there's what we call a community development plan. This is essential for raising assessment values because it is the map that shows how we can make our community better by adding value to it. And I'm not talking about inflating assessment values. I'm talking about truly us investing in our property, not worrying about our taxes going up because we're going to incrementally bring that mill rate down. And the 5th point of my platform is the nuclear waste repository. And what I want is, we have, Hornepayne, we just got to get serious here. We have to decide, what is the threshold for a referendum? We have to decide that as a community. That's not up to me, and that I do not want to have that at council table. So is it going to be 50 plus 1? Is it going to be 75%? What is that threshold for a referendum? And how do we get to a referendum? We hear this, oh, we're going to have a vote. Well, when is the date for this vote? And we need to get there. We need to have a plan, because when the vote happens, 2 things are going to become evident. We are either going to remain in the process, which is a huge endeavor. We need training on media, growth strategies. I don't even know all the different things we would need. We have to start planning for that. And if it decides that, no, we don't want the repository here, then we have to end an 8-year relation or 10-year relationship, wherever that vote is, with NWMO. And we need to end that healthily and successfully for moving forward. We want them to go forward and be successful in their endeavors, and we want Hornepayne to come out shining out of that as well. So I think it's high time that we take our future into our own hands and decide on where we want to go with the repository. And I'm not talking tomorrow, I'm talking we need a strategy to get there. So, to wrap up, there's 5 points to this platform. So we need to figure out our housing. We need to figure out, get those assessment rates up. How do we add real value to our own properties and to our community? We need to get that mill rate down. We need to have it so that people can invest here. We need to keep our water managed so that we don't see big increases in the future. We are tapped out, literally. They're pun intended, man. It's too high. We can't keep increasing that. We're going to drive our citizens away. Long-term people are going to start leaving, and they already have. So, and of course, our kids are our future. They're going to lead us the way. They're going to show us where we can invest and where we need to go. And then from there, we do our plans, our official plan, our community development plan, and we make our own decisions about our future. And let's just continue in this relationship with the NWMO and figure out where we want to go. And either way, either we're going to implement or we're going to exit, but let's do it healthily. So Hornepayne, I'm asking you, on October 22nd, you're going to go to the polls, and I'm asking you to vote for me. I'm asking you to vote for Cheryl Fort. I'm asking you to let me be your next mayor. Let me lead our community into the future. Let me launch us into the future. And I thank you. I thank you for listening to me today, and I thank you for everyone that's been involved. And I really want to say thank you to David Jeremy for having the Municipal Forum Group online. It was a great area to answer questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. To those of you who don't know me, my name is Willy Liebigt. I came here 40 years ago on a long weekend to visit my girlfriend at the time, Albina, and here I am. I've been in Hornepayne through its ups and downs and continuing to see the town finally in a prospect that we're starting to grow again. It's despite what you hear, it's not all doom and gloom. When I look at some of the accomplishments that we've done in the past 8 years, you know, we've had 3rd Avenue paved. Mind you, we spend as much time digging it up as we do riding on it, but nonetheless, that's an accomplishment. I see the wastewater treatment plant. We got $4 million invested in that. I see a $1.5 million investment in the water tower that's currently being done. You know, and through, speaking of white elephants, we may as well address the issue of the NWMO. Through their funding, all the plans that you've heard about, that'll be done through their funding. Without that funding, it'd be highly unlikely that we would get those plans developed. But in any case, as far as the platform goes, I don't really have too much to say, and the reason I don't have too much to say, I think it's dependent on the 5 people sitting as your council. I do have a bunch of ideas I'd like to bring forward to the other members of the new council if I'm lucky enough to be elected. And I think it's through those discussions that you can actually formulate a plan. And I think it's imperative as we meet as a new council that we sit down with the new council, develop an in-house strategic plan as to where we want to go short term. I mean, of course, everybody knows we have housing issues, we have tax issues. There's plans to put to address those. But even more on a local basis, I look at some of the road conditions. I have some thoughts and ideas on how we can improve that situation in town. So like I say, it's not all doom and gloom. We are making progress. Maybe not as quick as we'd all like, but we're moving forward steadily. Something else that's got to be addressed to the community is you hear the challenges we face as a community. I hear a fair amount of talk regarding travel expenses. But what you're not made aware of is the issues that are coming down from the province to us. And if I'm elected, myself and council, what I propose is quarterly we put out a newsletter to the community as to what we're doing, what we have done, and where we're going. But more importantly, to put out to you the issues that the province puts on us. Just for an example, something you may not be aware of, with the provincial legislation with firemen certification. The province says if you want to have a volunteer fireman, all your firemen have to be certified. That's one of the issues when we do travel, that we sit across the minister and say, we can't possibly afford that, you're killing our fire department. Those are some of the issues that we deal with going forward. I can remember going to one conference, it was myself and our mayor, Mr. Forrester, and our CAO, Gail Jeremy. Through the entire conference, we never attended one session of the conference, but what we did attend was 6 or 7 deputations with ministers. We had an off-conference meeting with the Ministry of Environment. We had an off-conference meeting with Via Rail at the time. So those are the things that we address when we do travel. So as far as the travel goes, I've heard some concerns. Some people believe send an email. Some people believe do it by teleconference, but that's got to be both ways. I'm sure if you send an email to a parliamentary assistant to any ministry, it hits the delete button and Hornepayne's gone. You have to be there, you have to be in their face. I think I've kind of explained my thoughts as far as the travel goes. And when you look at the travel costs overall, I think one of the candidates put out the figures that it works out to $15 per quarter is what our travel costs. So, you know, I think we can do better. We can probably sit down with a new council, revamp the travel, come up with a better formula or a better way of doing things. You've heard a little bit about tax assessments and mill rates adjusting up and down and so on and so forth. Number-wise, yeah, that is definitely the way to go. As your assessment goes up, we can drop, people call it mill rate, but that's no longer the term. It's you drop the tax rate. But by doing that, there's still a balance that has to be paid at the end of the day. So whether you're paying on a high assessment with a low tax rate or a low assessment with a high tax rate, at the end of the day, you're still paying that money. And then you hear a lot about plans. All I can tell you is plans cost money. We had a strategic plan done 16 months and $43,000 later, we had one strategic plan in our hand. So when you hear the word plans, be a little bit cautious in that regard. Coming up in the immediate future for Hornepayne, we've got some landfill issues. I think you're all aware we've possibly got 6 or 7 years left in our landfill. That's going to be a big expense, and it's going to be a great big enterprise for Hornepayne to undertake. We're currently, or we will be currently in the process to looking for different options for that. But that's something that's coming down the line. Again, it's in the future and possibly past the new council's time, but it's still looking ahead, something we have to address. I put my name up as mayor because I've got 8 years experience. I sit on a variety of boards. I'm a member of just about every association around, and the reason for that is you don't know everything, but others might. So unless you're there, you're not part of that. It's the old saying, if you don't go, you don't know. And like I say, given enough time, I can see Hornepayne coming back to where it was. I'd like to see a community where everyone's living relatively happily, you know, relatively content with what they're doing and their lifestyle. So just before the bell does go, just to wrap things up, this election, don't look upon voting me as a mayor or any other one of the candidates as a mayor. I think you have to sit back and say, of all the people, 3 candidates for mayor, 11 running for council. So I think what you have to say to yourselves, who is the best combination to address my issues? Of all those people, of the 14 people, who are the best 5 to move us forward? The big white elephant, as far as the NWO goes, I've always been an advocate for it. When I see the financial benefits that have been derived, there's the egg timer. When I see the financial benefits being derived, we would be foolish to opt out of the Learn More process because that's where we are. And just to finish up, as I said, don't elect one person, elect the 5 that's going to work for you. Thank you.
My name's Rob Walton, and the question I have is a teleconference machine that was given to
Excuse
the
me,
town.
Rob, is it for everybody or just one particular?
Just for this would be to Cheryl and Wille.
Cheryl and Willie, okay?
Has it been put into use?
Repeat the question again, please.
The teleconference machine that was given to the town to make calls to ministers or to speak to them, are you using it? Is it hooked up?
Teleconference machine the province gave to the town. Has it been used? Has it been hooked up? Candidate Liebigt.
Yeah, I guess everybody heard the question. 2014, we were given a grant by the NWMO for the ability to teleconference. We've tried to use it several times, and the issue with that, Rob, is the fact that the other end has to have that capability. If the other end doesn't have the capability, we can't use it. So, go ahead.
You mean the ministers don't have that ability to speak to them?
Again, when you're talking to the ministers, the chances of getting a teleconference with the minister is slim to none. I think teleconferencing would work with things like Thunder Bay District Municipal League, but that league moves around. They move their meeting locations around and around. The short answer is, we'd like to use it, we should be using it, but we don't have the ability.
Well, could you use it to talk to junior, the civil
Okay,
servants?
Rob, state your point, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Candidate Fort?
To address that, we do several meetings through webinars. We do try to meet on phone. We connect with people. I don't want the video conferencing stuff was purchased before I was on council, and I know the new system that we're going to be implementing will help us forward as well. That's the iCompass and with the iPads, and you'll see it once it's launched. It's going to help on helping you be better informed, and all the minutes should be on, or all the meetings should be on there as streamed as well.
The question you asked in general is?
Are we getting subsidized to train the firefighters?
And who are you asking that question to? All three candidates?
All three candidates.
No, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that question. I'm not familiar with the funding, with the funding that is being, with the money that's being spent on training, and whether or not it's being reimbursed when a person leaves to go take a job in a different municipality.
I actually have been looking into this quite extensively because the provincial government came down with some new regulations for fire departments and that training, and they didn't put dollars to it. They said they would cover all the training, but our problem is we're so far away that we're probably going to spend our training dollars getting our guys to, or women, to the training facility. Currently in Timmins, they've just been granted their certification to be part of the fire training assembly, and I was talking with Contact North, so we may be able to partner there and do some training right in town. So when we find out exactly what they're going to fund, maybe we'll be able to lessen those dollars as well, because working with Contact North, we might be able to do the training, some of the training through the group training here in town, and then it's from the campus in Timmins.
Thanks for the question, Mike, being an ex-fire chief. As far as that training goes, that's something that's mandated by the province. And as Cheryl says, we do have access to Contact North for a training purpose to minimize the costs. You're right in assuming that some tax dollars would be spent to train the firefighters. As far as getting the certification, there's a fair amount of time involved. And I think it's not even an issue of a cost. You're dealing with a volunteer fireman. So when a person comes up and says to the current chief and says, Miles, I'd like to join the fire department, you have to take X amount of days of training. First of all, if there's any out-of-town training involved, how does he get that off? He's a full-time employee somewhere. Are you expecting the volunteer to take his vacation time to get the 3-4 days necessary training? Currently it's unworkable. It was one of the issues we had brought forward when we were with AMO, saying that the province you have to readdress this. You have to have a second look at it, because what you're going to do in essence is you're going to kill the small municipal fire departments. How could we ever afford? And like you say, compound that problem, once they're certified and they move on, you've lost that training. It's the revolving door that's going to be a complete pain for the smaller communities.
Candidate Liebigt, thank you.
Great Dane. And I have a question to all three future mayors to get elected. If they lead their council into developing tight rapport with CN Rail and the gold mine that's between White River and Hornepayne, to try and bring people into Hornepayne, because there's a lot of people that live out of town that hold jobs here and have to leave Hornepayne. And the mine, I heard, we're looking for housing in Hornepayne and couldn't find it. So if you can work with these new industries and CN Rail, I'd like to hear your plans.
So you want to hear the plans that for you, Sal, for the town, to have a closer working relationship with both CN and Harte Gold?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
I can speak to CN specifically. There are quite a few that live outside of town, primarily in Hearst, some in White River, a couple in Wawa that I'm aware of. These people, for the majority of these people, they are from Hearst or Wawa or White River and chose to come and work in Hornepayne. So they never even wanted to live here. They wanted the job here, and they travel back to their place where they want to live. Now, as far as Harte Gold goes, that comes back to developing strategies to increase the number of available homes and housing facilities we have in this town to help ease the burden. White River has a hard time housing them as it is. Wawa, some of them are staying there. Marathon. There's there's definitely a need. I'm not aware of too many people here that are working at Harte Gold currently, but I would imagine they would stay in Hornepayne, hopefully. But yes, that's the challenge, I think, with Harte Gold is a little different than it is with CN. Now with CN, we see people coming from down south, completing their training and departing once they've gained enough seniority to go back to wherever they come from. And as far as the people from Hearst, the majority of them are from Hearst and they want to remain there to begin with. So I don't see that as being a problem, or the employees at CN that live outside of the community. Now Harte Gold, I do see it as an issue, and it's something we definitely need to look at.
Candidate Fort.
Clarify, I understood the question to be more how we are going to liaison with building bridges between the two companies. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe you're missing opportunities with CN Rail.
Okay. Well, this is pretty exciting because last night there was upper management in town. Although we had a council meeting, I only got there late, and I want to thank the community members that had told John Orr that I was running for mayor. John Orr is a big wig at CN, and when I walked into the CN station yesterday, he acknowledged me by name, knew who I was, and said we should talk once the election is over. No matter who gets voted, I will definitely share that information, that contact information. His assistant gave me, took my information, and we'll be in contact. With Harte Gold, I did speak with Harte Gold after they met in Hornepayne here last June, and I felt like I really made some connections there. I don't think as a capacity as councillor right now, that's not my position to move forward, but as your mayor, definitely I would look at ways to liaison and get some profit and some growth and some connections there for our community to profit from the gold mine being so close to us. Thank you.
We've got a major employer, 40 clicks from White River and about 70 from us, I guess, or 60 from us. The mayor and I and Gail, we have met with Harte Gold on 3 different occasions, telling them about Hornepayne. We've got a newer school, we've got a newer hospital, we've got an airport, and their general reply was, we appreciate all of that, and when we're ready, we'll get back to you. Currently, their only interest seems to be in the airport, and there seems to be a little bit of discussion about doing some upgrades. As far as the CN is concerned, when we were in Ottawa at AMO, the current mayor and I were invited to attend a session with CN with one of the senior vice presidents out of Montreal. During the course of those discussions, we had presented a few issues that we had along with other small northern communities. The outcome of those discussions remains to be seen, but we definitely caught his ear. What'll happen lots of times, you speak to mid-management, that message doesn't get carried to upper management. But I think the mayor and I, we successfully accomplished that. So I am expecting a few things to develop with the CN.
Lisa Randall is from all 3 candidates. So currently I'm the director of the new Hallmark Center. And everybody we've talked to about potential development is very excited. One of the areas that they're particularly excited about is the pool. So I want to know how the township, or you as mayor, could help reopen the pool in Hornepayne.
No, thank you for your question, and I wholeheartedly agree as a parent with 3 children that a pool would be something that everyone in this community, I believe, could benefit from. Again, to me, that's something that might be a little bit down the road, a little bit, but we need to start bolstering this community as far as tax base, bringing people in, bringing employers in, and at that point we can have the funding to build a pool or reopen a pool, maybe even ensure that our arena stays open every year without worrying every year that arena is going to close. Community centers, teen centers, there's a litany of things that I want to see in this community, and a pool is definitely one of them. I'm sure we can get there. Thank you.
And yeah, I've thought about this lots. With an economic development officer, I'd love to see an incentive program put together for them. I think we're in the day and age that we need to partner. The town cannot carry a pool on its own, but maybe if we had a hotel strategy where there was a pool within a hotel and we were able to use that hotel during the daytime for say 8 hours, then we can accommodate that. So I think that, yes, I would love to see a pool. When I was going door to door, many people said, we need a rec center. And you know what? We are all surrounded by lakes. Our children need to know how to swim. My kids benefited from the pool. So moving forward, I think the best strategy would be work with the economic development officer, find some incentive programs, because right now we're busing our children to Hearst, and that's a huge safety concern for me. So yes, I think we should have a pool, and we should make it as an incentive package for a hotel.
If I understand your question, Stacey, are you asking about the existing pool?
I'm asking about the existing pools.
About the existing pool, well, I don't know if you've toured that building lately, but currently that building I wouldn't want to even spend any time wandering around in. I think before the potential of that even happening, we would be spending some fairly big dollars to talk to a consultant, get a structural engineer in just to see if it would be even safe to reopen that pool. As far as the pool goes, I'm 100% in agreement. I mean, anything we can do recreation-wise for this community is definitely worthwhile. I hear talks of hotels and restaurants. The key there is that the investors, where are you going to get the investors? You have a community of 900 people. The way around that, I would suggest that the municipality possibly partner financially with the developer and thereby create a hotel, restaurant, including a pool. I think that would be the short answer to that.
A big thorn in my side at the present time, and for the last 7 years, is why is the gym at the curling rink, where you have a building that you spent $40, $50, $60,000 on renovating to move it, and it's still not moved.
So the question is, why is the gym still at the curling rink?
That is correct.
All right, so thank you very much. Again, candidate Courtney, please.
Yes, Mike, I would have to agree with you that a curling rink is no place for a gym. Okay, I've been part of some occasions moving equipment out of there, moving it back in there to facilitate a dance or a tournament or that type of thing. And then the problem with that is we have people who are paying a monthly membership that don't have access to that facility for that period of time. I would agree with you that the northern building would be an ideal site for a gym. It's definitely something that we absolutely need to look at, because the curling rink is not the place for it.
I think it needs to be moved. I don't know where it's going to be moved. I want to congratulate Councilor Drago-Stefanik for bringing this forward. We did look at moving it to the northern. It just was one pitfall after another, and it's been a thorn in our side at council. I think all of us that sit at council right now want it moved. We hear that we want to see the curling club thrive. So moving forward, I think a new council could decide on where they need to invest. Maybe we need to look completely away from that northern store building and either buy something existing or add to our infrastructure up at the arena. Maybe there is room up there that we can move it somewhere up there. These are strategies that a new council could look at, and I am with you, Mike. I think that it's hindering the curling club completely, and I would love to see it moved.
Me being an avid bond spieler, not necessarily a curler, but you're absolutely right in saying that the gym should be moved. Bearing in mind we're a small community and there are times where we have to share a facility, and this is just one of them where we have to share a facility. We have been working with trying to do a little bit of renovation to the northern store to move the gym in there. Ultimately, I think that would be our goal. Currently, we're in a situation, we're doing some final air quality tests, and if everything works out there, we can possibly get towards doing some construction inside, putting bathrooms in, because it's going to be a necessity. So if things go well, I would hope within a year or two we could possibly move it. As far as building a whole new gym, again, I don't know where we're getting the dollars from, but I guess the potential is there.
Thank you, candidate Liebigt.
They've spent, I don't know how many thousands of dollars on an engineer to come in and tell them that they had to move
Mike,
it.
what is your question?
The question is, how much money have we spent to do nothing?
I don't know really where you're going, how much money we spent to do nothing. A large portion of the money that was spent for the northern was came from the NWMO, and the reason we spent that money is It's too good a building to let deteriorate into nothing. So now whether it's used as a gym or whether it's going to be used as a town office, or hopefully we can rent that out as a retail space, I don't think it's money spent for nothing. Money never is, I don't think. That's my thoughts on that, Mike.
Thank you very much.
My answer is, Mike, too much. We've spent too much doing nothing.
What, if anything, do you think could be done to get more rooms available for people that are looking for housing in Hornepayne on a short-term basis?
Right off the bat, one thing I could think of is there are a number of properties that the township owns that are either currently for sale or not for sale. I would imagine there'd have to be some expenditure to upgrade these properties to make them livable, to make them saleable, but it's definitely an option to get these things on the market, get them ready to be habitated by people coming into town. That would help alleviate the problem to a certain extent, and it's definitely a start. Thank you.
Matt, I actually have had several discussions with people about this issue, because I just cannot, I really just hate seeing people leave. So I want to congratulate Allison Morrison, because she came up with a brilliant idea about Shampoo Homes. They are a prefab home. These are great, ready-to-go homes. And what I would think is that at council table, I would bring to council table through the Housing Taxes Task Force to talk about, maybe how does it look about giving land away? Because that goes towards someone's mortgage. So that would be for everyone. Further that, we can help people get mortgages through that. And Shampoo Homes can put a home on a concrete foundation or those drilled in foundation. So, and I don't want to take Allison's thunder here. This was originally her thoughts on that, and we were talking about this about 3 months ago. So yes, it's on my mind, and yes, I want to see people stay here.
Yep, we do have a housing issue. One thing I'd like to point out is the fact of handing out free lots. Municipal Act Section 106 defines that as bonusing. You're not allowed to do that. You have to share your lots at fair market value. That kind of eliminates that. A housing strategy is a real good idea. It's time consuming, but I would like to say short term there are some answers, and it kind of falls with an investment readiness program. It's something, as Mr. Courtney referred to, we have empty houses, we have vacant lots. What I'd like to see is get those lots cleaned up, make them presentable for sale. The houses that are derelict, knock them down, clean the lots up, make them presentable for sale. The houses that are worth salvaging, the municipality may have to get into a bit of a landlord situation. But it would be my suggestion that if we have a piece of property sitting there with a house on it, if we can invest $30,000 into to bring that back up to living standards, you've got a possible sale or you've got possible long-term rent. That's one way we could increase our tax base.
Hello, my name is Eric Dane, and I have a question for all three candidates. I hear a lot of talk that a lot of funding for amenities, travel, and new resources in the community is being provided by the NWMO. I would like to know how we are going to continue growth in these areas if funding from the NWMO were to stop.
It goes back to the first point of my platform, which is to bring business into this community. Business is what it's built on, be it small business, large business, industry. This is outside of the NWMO. It's to attract business to this community, to support it, and to retain them, and to make them, to help them. We can't make them profitable, but we can help them along. And that's basically, that's number one on my platform, and that's outside of the NWMO. That's how we do it, is by bringing business here.
For your question, Eric, just to clarify, our current travel budgets don't come from NWMO. They come from the tax base. There is travel with NWMO, and that is covered under those dollars, but that's all for NWMO initiatives. So, but moving forward, I want to come back to my fifth point of my platform, that we do need to make a plan for moving forward, because if we decide as a community that we do not want to go forward with the repository, what do we do next? So I think even though that wasn't quite your question, we do need to think about that.
Yeah, moving ahead without the NWMO, I think it would be a difficult proposition to say the least, and I do agree with what councilor Fort has said, we do have to develop some plans going forward in the event that we elect to opt out, or in the event that we are asked to leave because we don't meet the current conditions. It's going to be a lot harder to do some development, but I don't think all hope is lost. It's a matter of putting your heads together, maybe thinking outside of the box, but as always, we will progress. Maybe not as quick as we want to, but we will move ahead.
My name's Courtney. My question is for all three candidates. As it was stated, tons of money and time has been put into that Hallmark Center. If it's not the gym that's going in there, what are your plans to do with that space?
The actual building itself, or just the northern store?
Just the northern store.
Okay, thanks, Courtney. The northern store, as was discussed before, may be a good option for the gym. I think it would be an ideal option for a retail rental, lease of some sort for a business to come into our community and set up a camp. Outside of those two options, I really can't see any valid use for that property. Either something community-based, community center gym, that type of thing, or retail rental.
Currently, we're still moving forward with the northern store. We've applied for a grant through Trillium for a capital grant. So currently, that would be the goal, is to get the gym in there. We don't find out about that grant until January, so it is way back from what we originally wanted, but moving forward. So if that was to fall through, I honestly, Courtney, I haven't even thought beyond that, what we would do with that space.
Well, as far as the northern store is concerned, as to what we would do with it, when you look at our municipal office, it was built in 1967, we've got a whole host of issues with that building. Along with that fact, by 2023, Ontario has to be accessible in all aspects. That would be one of the plans that I would try to develop, to move the town office in there, move the gym in there, move the library in there, have some office spaces for people like H&R Block that come in periodically, or lawyers. And at one time we had a discussion of having a common area with a little bit of a canteen. Those plans have been shelved for now, but those plans are there. And moving forward, when the opportunity is there and the funding is there, we'd probably utilize that. As far as the rest of the buildings go, the mayor and I had some discussions with the Ministry of Northern Development Mines under the Liberal government, and we were in the process of trying to develop a brownfield project whereby the province would pay to knock that building down. That's still in the works, so there's some definite plans for that.
Thank you very much. Candidate Liebigt.
My name is Margaret Doyle, a longtime Hornepayne resident, and my question for all three candidates is, are any of you or all of you willing to make a plan or start a plan should or if we decide to pull out of the NWMO? Are you going to work on a plan to prepare yourself should we decide to pull out? Or are you going to wait to the 11th hour and then, like we did with them all?
And I believe we should have a plan, a contingency plan to plan our path forward should that not be an option. It's definitely not a foregone conclusion, far from that, and it would be irresponsible for us to wait till the 11th hour, as you suggest, to come up with a strategy, a plan of action. That should be part of the planning for the NWMO, is also planning without the NWMO. Thank you.
Of course, I put that in my platform. I call it an exit strategy. At the referendum, if the community decided that we didn't want the repository, then yes. And you know what? That relationship that we have with the NWMO can't just end that day. We have to decide how we're going to move forward, how they can continue successfully on in their endeavors, and then we can continue on in our endeavors successfully, so that we part ways mutually agreeable with each other. And yes, so I think it is important, and we need to know what industries are we going to look at. Where do we want to go? We can't just put all our eggs in one basket.
The NWMO, the white elephant. We're 5 years away from them making a definitive decision as to whether Hornepayne would be the place to have the repository. That's not to say we shouldn't be maybe looking ahead, and that's not a maybe. We should be looking ahead. What are we going to do in the event that we are precluded from the project, or we elect to opt out of the project? And I think maybe one of the ways to open that door is put that directly back on the NWMO and their people, saying that we've got to get together, and what can you do to help us? Because they do have multiple resources that could assist us with something that should have developed. Thanks.
Are you willing to look past all the past BS and move forward with the proper elected First Nations in Hornepayne?
In my belief, a relationship with the First Nation Indigenous people in Hornepayne is crucial regardless of which road we go down. Doesn't matter whether it's the NWMO or not. It's crucial to have a relationship going forward with the First Nations. It goes without saying. Either way, that's my answer. Either way.
Yeah, definitely. I currently do have a relationship with the Hornepayne First Nation. I would see us moving forward together. I think the cautionary point that we have to remember, though, is we don't want to move forward with First Nation community to just benefit. That's what's happened in the past, and that's the key to reconciliation, is that we need to move forward as partners and invite them to the table and really hear and listen first before we get into any agreements. I wouldn't want to further hurt or cause further hurt. I'd like to move forward on a positive note. So yes, Kara, I would be completely for that, and I would rather the First Nations and the council work together so that there's no further hurt or divides created.
Speaking regarding the First Nations, I can tell you that the mayor and I attended a band council meeting at Constance Lake quite a number of years ago, and what that made that a little bit unusual was the fact that we were invited there. So we sat down with the council and the chief of the day, just had a general discussion as things going on in the north, and the NWMO, of course, that came into question, their concerns about their water protection and all of that. But the point being is we were there to talk to them. Further to that, about 6 or 7 months ago, I was in further discussions with Constance Lake trying to develop a regional waste disposal site so we could possibly start up some kind of a recycling business, because with Constance Lake, Hearst, Hornepayne, White River, we could probably have the volume to affect that. As far as moving forward, yeah, by all means, I think it's something we have to do, is build that relationship, regardless of who's sitting in the chairs.
Okay. Hi, Haley Doolin. I just wanted to touch base on that common area with the canteen. If we got the gym out of the curling club, would that not be a common area with the canteen? And also, wouldn't it open up options for birthday party rentals to bring the summer program back for the children, since it wouldn't be used in the summer? And many other options for like hockey tournaments, little rockers, gatherings of any sort, really?
And I think, first of all, the gym equipment needs to be moved out of the curling rink. I think we can all agree on that. At that point, that space becomes primarily the curling club. Now, what the curling club chooses to do with that space is entirely up to them, but I agree that birthday parties, children's activities, maybe even different types of associations meeting or groups. I fully believe the gym needs to be removed from the curling club. And I do think the Northern Store currently is a good viable option for that right now. But yes, we can definitely use a space that the gym is removed from for a lot of the activities you described.
Definitely we need the space. We need the space because we're losing out on senior funding grants where we can actually apply for funding for seniors to actually use that space. And why do I say that space? Because it's accessible. And I would love to see us have accessible town council meetings. So yes, we do need to move the gym. Hopefully we can continue with the project we're going forward with. And yes, Haley, that space could be utilized in many different ways. Craft nights, I'm just thinking about the paint nights they have here at the school, but on that kind of social event atmosphere, yeah, I think it would add value to our community, for sure.
Not much to regard in that question, Haley. I think we're all in agreement we'd like to see the gym move sooner rather than later. I don't think you're going to see that happen short term, because if we move that gym, we're going to have to contend with whatever that membership is, and I'm sure they'll kind of give me a quick tune-up if we suggest that we move that gym with no alternative. Long term, yeah, it's got to be moved.
Terry Latosky, and I have a question for all three. In reference to a comment on the municipal election website that David set up, was about people who do not pay their taxes in town. Whether that's for making a point or they don't have the funds. Do you see a solution other than going through the town lawyer, which just adds more cost? In my mind, if I pay my taxes, I should be able to use the dump. If you don't pay your taxes, you don't get to use the dump.
First of all, with the issue of unpaid taxes, I think the first thing that needs to be determined is whether the person is not paying because they don't want to or because they cannot. Okay? People that cannot, maybe having struggles, unemployment, illness, things of that sort, and in those cases, arrangements can always be made, whether it's paid half now, half next month, or $100 now, or as much as you can now. When it comes to people that simply choose not to, that's a whole different ballgame. Now, I like your suggestion about the dump, but then we may have people that choose not to pay their tax, piling garbage up in their backyard, burning it. I'm not sure if that's maybe not the right kind of road to go down. I don't know if, like you mentioned, a town lawyer, that's going to cost money. Collections agencies, that type of thing. Short of that, I mean, most of the services that are provided are there for everyone. We can't pick and choose who gets their road plowed or who gets their, at this point, who gets their garbage picked up. But it's definitely a problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Thank you very much.
I think that would be an awesome topic to discuss at the task force, because we're going to have individuals there that are more intelligent than myself, and we can bring people to the table and we can figure out this problem together. But yeah, I do think it is a problem, and we do have to have some solution to it. And I think the committee setting up a housing taxes task force could come to a great solution for that.
Regarding the non-payment of taxes, that falls under the governance of Ontario. At one time, if you didn't pay your taxes for 3 years, the house was subject to a tax sale. That's been cut down to 2 years. If a person doesn't pay their taxes, I don't see how a municipality, how you could penalize that individual person for not paying their taxes. First of all, it's a matter of confidentiality. Maybe somebody doesn't have the wherewithal, and then all of a sudden that person is not allowed to use the dump. That's nobody's business but the townships and the persons involved. As far as setting up a task force to address taxation issues, I think it's a good idea. To what avail? Hopefully formulate a plan. But that's currently our situation with taxes.
My name is Amanda Drury, and my question is that for all three of you, as mayor, I see you guys playing a really important role in making the town council, town chambers a more welcoming and positive area. As someone who has served on the executive for curling in the past, I have felt dread, I have felt frustrated, I have literally shared tears with people down there. I want to know what you're going to do or what skills you can bring forth to make it more welcoming and resolve conflicts in a respectful way and make people feel heard.
Making people feel more welcome at the town hall?
Yeah.
As simple as that?
First of all, making people feel welcome in town hall is, to me, is a simple thing. It's a matter of decorum, okay? Where every single person at that table, be it the mayor, the 5 councilors, everybody in the room, for the most part, are adults, okay? So one of the things I learned as a child is how to deal with other people without using, vile language or violence or threats or anything like that. It's a place where it's a place not unlike the House of Commons, where sometimes things get out of hand, but there's always kind of a decorum. It's something that has to happen, and it's the people in the room that control it. And as mayor, you might have to be one of the people that actually pulls in the reins and takes things under control. There's no reason for anybody to be brought to tears at a town council meeting, in my opinion.
Definitely, I think there can be improvements in the town hall. First of all, we do have an accessibility issue. Hopefully that'll be resolved for the moment with our eyes, with the streaming of online meetings. But at the town hall itself, I think people need to be able to say their opinion and have disagreements. Disagreements do not harm us. They actually, friction causes us to have better decisions in the end. And that's the way I look forward. And anyone that knows me knows that's how I deal. So I think as a leader, I would take the stance in that, and then I think council would follow suit. You have leadership, and if you have a leadership style and you're running the meetings, you can control that and make people and show people how welcome they are. Since I've been on council, I have invited people out to meetings continuously, and I am so encouraged to hear what you have to say. So I think it's a top-down strategy as well.
Amanda, were you referring specifically to town council or town office? Just shout it out.
Council.
Council?
Okay, all right. I think it's important that council, all of council and mayors remain open to any discussions with citizens. That's something that I've done. I mean, many of you come up to me and wanted to discuss this, discuss that. It's got to be an open door policy both ways. When it comes directly to a council meeting, you know, it is incumbent upon the mayor to control that meeting, and sometimes feelings do get hurt. It's the way of doing business. Perhaps, you know, soften our tone, but at the end of the day, I think individually every councillor should be approachable and contribute what they can.
Bob Walton, my questions for Cheryl Fort and Willy Liebigt. I went to a council meeting November the 2nd of last year due to the fact that Aqua has a practice of flushing the fire hydrants in the ditch, which rips out the shoulder and destroys the ditch. I had to get a contractor to fix it. So I went to the council meeting to get this corrected. You said they were sending a diffuser down and this practice would stop.
Who's you? When you said, who you said?
Council said.
Council said.
You were going to get a diffuser so that the water would be dispersed on the road and it would not flush the hydrants in the ditch. Where you didn't get the diffuser, or we're just going to continue to wash out our ditches?
Thanks for your question, Rob. First of all, I did not know they were doing that, and I thank you for bringing it to my attention. My understanding was that we were going to have a diffuser, so I would definitely look into it. And for anyone that has an issue in the further like this situation, get a green form in, get it into your town hall so we can address this issue. And yeah, and I hope they haven't done that at your property this year.
It was my understanding that going forward that Aqua would be using diffusers in every instance. I'm a little disappointed to hear that they're not. It's an issue we can bring up with Aqua, saying that, you know, for the second time or third time, use the diffusers.
Thank you.
That's the short answer.
Why you should vote for me. Vote for me, a vote for Mike Courtney is a vote for this community moving forward, for growing, for becoming a, like I said, a community that people around us want to emulate. Short of that, that's really all I have. I just want to say again, say thank you to Mr. Creswell, thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. Make sure everyone gets out October 22nd to vote, regardless of where you cast your vote. It's the most important thing you can do. Get out there and vote. Thank you.
I think a vote for Cheryl is a vote for you. I'm going to stand behind the platform that I put out. I'm going to work diligently, and I have a track record in that area. I will be accountable and transparent, and I will continue to communicate with you as a community. And I think on October 22nd, you should vote Cheryl Fort for your next mayor. Thank you.
Why should you vote for me as mayor? I've got 8 years experience behind me. And being in this for 8 years, it's going to give you some idea of my commitment, because I'm willing to step up for another 4. It's not an easy task sitting in a mayor's seat or a councilor's seat. And again, as I said before, going forward, don't vote for the one person, vote for the team that's going to move us forward. And part of that team will be Willy Liebigt for mayor, October 22nd. Thank you.